Our next guest is Senator Michelle Axtman. She's one of the newer members of the legislature, a major in the U.S. Air Force Reserve, and graduate of the University of Mary and the U.S. Air Force Academy, which is awesome. Active duty Air Force pilot for 12 years, and now a citizen legislator. Is that great or what? Senator Axtman, welcome.
Thank you, Scott, so much for having me this morning. Excited to be here.
So how do you like this legislative gig?
I absolutely love it. You know, you read that I did serve as a pilot in the Air Force for 12 years, and I'll be honest, there were some days I woke up and I didn't want to go to work. I have not ever had that feeling when we're in session. I have woke up every day and been really excited to come here and do what we do.
What excites you about this?
So before I decided to run, I was able to see from the vantage point of my dad being in the House and how quickly you can learn about an issue, work hard to improve an issue, and almost instantaneously make a positive difference for our entire state. So how close we are to the people and how quickly we can help improve the lives for our constituents.
And I think, it's sort of a thankless job because it's 80 days every other year that it gets a lot of attention in the media, but you're doing work obviously all year long. But you talk about the ability to impact things closest to you. That really comes from the state legislature, but far too often you're a little bit forgotten, aren't you?
I think so. You know, we get blamed for the things that, people don't like, but oftentimes it's okay that, they may not see that we're the ones that also are the policymakers behind things that do enhance North Dakota and their lives every day. So I'm okay with it being a thankless job. We get to see it play out in front of our eyes, and that's really cool.
And I would encourage people who are at all curious about this and how these laws get made and the difference you can make and whatnot to literally just come to the Capitol. If you're part of a particular group or association, they often have different days that are highlighted here in the session. But it's amazing the access you have to senators, to representatives, to the process, to statewide elected leaders. I mean, they're just in the cafeteria and they're walking around and they're on the House floor, and the public is welcome here, aren't they?
Absolutely. I always welcome anyone who wants to even sit with me on the floor as a guest. I think it's such an important experience for someone to take in and see how the process works firsthand. So I love having guests on the floor with me. So anyone listening can come join me on the floor.
And I imagine a little melancholy for you as well, since your dad did this.
I know. And actually, I'll tell you, Scott, so it's a family history. So my husband's grandfather was in the House, 25, 30 years ago. And then now my dad in the House and now me in the Senate. So, I'm already talking to my 9 and 7-year-old that they got to keep it up. So.
Keep the legacy going. I want to talk about an issue super important to me personally. Our kids, all now since graduated, but all products of the Catholic school system. And I saw the JP2 schools in Fargo, which I'm familiar with, but I see this all across the state. It happens in many places, and it's happening now in Fargo as well with Capstone Classical Academy. I mean, the opportunities, regardless of income, yep, regardless of the family stature that they come from, to have an education that no ding on the public school system, but they legally can't do. Right? Correct. They can't teach the whole person. And yet these schools that are doing so much good, educating kids for the future and giving them incredible values, are at a huge disadvantage financially. Yet I paid a lot of property taxes, right? And not a penny of that went to the education that my kids had. This is an important issue to you as well. Tell us how this became such a focus for you.
Well, Scott, so important to me. And so kind of, I'll go back to what you said, is this isn't just an 80-day job for us. This is something we work in the interim to think about issues and learn about issues. So I, during the interim, took Governor Burgum's words to heart when he said the voucher bill didn't go far enough. And I looked and studied every single state's ESA program, voucher program, tax credit, tax scholarship, micro grants. And I said, well, what would it look like if we figured out a way to get it right in North Dakota? Because I don't think the voucher bill we saw last session was getting it right in terms of school choice and helping students have a fair shot at the best learning environment for their kid. So with that, I spent the last year and a half really working hard on making a true North Dakota version of school choice and in educational opportunities. It became actually more than just school choice, because I think it's more than just choosing one school system over the other. It's about finding educational opportunities for each kid and what that looks like. And so that's where my Bill 2400 kind of came to fruition, is studying every other state's program and making something that would make us the first in the nation and providing really great opportunities. And and I think it's even more about the tax dollars that you're spending and not utilizing if you opt out of the public school system. I actually don't even think it's truly about that. It's about a message that our state supports each kid individually, and we recognize that each kid has unique needs and should be in the best environment for them. And as a state, we support that. And I think that's the message behind it.
Yeah, the legislation that passed after so much effort, so many sessions, the last session was vetoed by Governor Burgum. You mentioned that he told you and me on this program and our listeners, hey, we can do better. We can do better. That's why he vetoed it. He thought we would settle for something that was a lesser product. How are we doing on getting a better product? Will it get to Governor Kelly Armstrong?
I sure hope so. Maybe selfishly because it's my bill, but we do. So I have worked with the governor's office, with educational stakeholders across the state. I've taken into inputs from all the different sectors of education and crafted a policy that it would make us a first in the nation. And I think that's really great. If we would have gone ahead with a voucher program like we did pass but was vetoed, states are working away from that. That was the original form of school choice. I don't know why we would choose to be one of the last people on scene and to go with an antiquated system. If we're going to do this right, let's work hard to make sure we're a leader in the nation in an innovative new school choice policy. And that's what Senate Bill 2400 does.
The pushback always comes from the public schools because they say, we're going to be harmed by this. How have you addressed that issue?
Well, first off, Senate Bill 2400A, all these bills do not take any funding away from the public school system. They don't take a single dollar from the public school system. But Senate Bill 2400 is a little unique because we would be the first state where public school students would also qualify for the ESA money. And so that helps the system. I have to acknowledge the fact that our public schools are dealing with, an amount of unique needs from students that I don't even know how we keep pace with anymore. It's demanding on them. And so if we can instead give the parents the dollars, that way if there is a unique tutoring service or special intervention that child could benefit from, the family can find that and have the funds now from our state to help do that. And it's the onus isn't on the school at that point.
The money is going to follow the student.
Follow the student.
Right.
Yep.
One of the other things they say is, you folks in the private school area, you don't have the same burdens we do.
Right.
And we have to take everybody.
Yeah.
You don't have to take everybody.
That's an old argument, Scott. That's a really old argument.
They just pound on it.
But when we start our conversation with that argument, I think we are preventing ourselves from looking at what it could be. We're going back to that old argument. Instead of looking, there's a school in Fargo that is a private school that has very successfully founded themselves on the premise that they only take students with severe disabilities. And they're doing it exceptionally well. And so why are we looking back and saying, you don't take every kid, and we're pinning each other against ourselves? Instead, why don't we look at what it could be? Is if we support those individual students that have high needs and say it could be done different and it could be done maybe better in a private school system that's supported by the state, and then they could partner with the public schools. We could create collaboration in our communities. Instead of this, that argument just pins us against each other at the cost of students. And I can't support that. And
has there ever been some thought to say, well, you're able to take every student because you have publicly funded assets and professionals that help? Maybe those folks, since they're publicly funded, should go to any school where kids need help.
Yeah, and I will give our schools credit. Sometimes when they have the ability, our students in private schools, they are sharing some of those resources. And I think if we support and put a little bit, more support behind that, maybe those programs could be better. Why can't we share those supports? Our students are all North Dakota students, and I just think instead of holding those resources and fighting against each other, we should find ways to share those resources.
How do we help you get this passed?
Yeah, I think making this public more knowledgeable about it. So I appreciate being on here because it's different. When we hear ESAs, people right away say, I don't like them. This isn't a typical ESA, Senate Bill 2400. I encourage everyone to read about it. It affects public school students, private school students, homeschool students. It helps every North Dakota child. And so I think if we stop falling back on these old arguments, we make sure the public is engaged, they are knowledgeable about what could be, because everyone who has heard about this new structure that we have the opportunity to pass here in North Dakota and support North Dakota, I haven't found anyone who's against it.
Give me a half a minute on charter schools and what you're trying to do there.
Absolutely. So that one might actually hit the floor today. So we passed the amendment yesterday. It is Senate Bill 2241. It's a very high, so we're one of only 4 states who don't authorize charter schools right now. And I see a need for them. They are public schools. The bill 2241 requires a high level of accountability. It requires licensed teachers. They would follow all of the same statutes of our traditional public schools. However, they offer the opportunity to come out of the gate and be a little bit more innovative. So they could maybe offer a Montessori approach, a STEM-based approach. I've seen healthcare systems open up charter schools to target high school students who are interested in health careers. Association of General Contractors in other states have been able to open up charter schools that focus on industry needs. I think the opportunity is out there, and I hope our communities rally support for them.
We got to get, don't we?
Yeah, we do. Yeah. We really do.
Senator Michelle Axtman of Bismarck, thank you so much for your efforts on this front. Keep us posted. Let us know when we need a little push.
Okay, thanks, Scott. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too.